there, this is Julie Moore coming to you from lovely Fresno, California, where it's been over 100 degrees. So I wanted to have cool in my title. So this talk is about cataloging cool objects in these uncertain times using RDA and Mark 21. I'm the Special Collections Catalog Librarian at California State University, Fresno. And this is the Moog OLAC Collaboration Screencast Series, the first such attempt. And we will hopefully see lots more as time goes on. And I wanted to thank the task force for inviting me to come and speak to you about cool objects and how to catalog them. So I'm part of OLAC, the Online Audiovisual Catalogers. Anyone who catalogs special formats really should become a member of OLAC. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you'll think, I need to join OLAC. Cataloging workshops are great. We have best practices guides. The OLAC listserv is wonderful, and we also have especially for objects, we have the best practices for cataloging objects using RDA and Mark 21 that we just published January of 2020. So I hope that you'll check it out. The link is right there. It's free, and just go check it out. Now, one thing about cataloging from home that's kind of interesting when I'm doing any kind of teaching is that I am stuck with the things that I happen to have at home. And you might be wondering, now, Julie, how is it that you happen to have a Smilodon or a dire wolf skull? And it's because my son is a budding paleontologist and loves these things. So our little apartment is filled with skeletons and fossils and minerals and rocks and those kinds of things. The Smilodons and the dire wolves cross paths in the Pleistocene epoch, especially here in California, and so they're of interest. You notice that there's the tar pit coloration on the Smilodon. Look up the La Brea tar pits, where they have thousands of these skulls, and of both the Smilodons and the dire wolves. So what do these things have in common? Connect 4, we've got a game, a hand puppet, a card game, Muscle Man, a geode, a meteorite, banners, another card game, artwork, a microscope slides, wood slices. Oh, and there's Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones is taking care of my office at the Henry Madden Library while I'm gone. Anyway, these all make appearances in our OLAC Objects Best Practices Guide. We like our definitions, so here's the definition for object: a three-dimensional artifact or replica of an artifact or a naturally occurring object. So there's our meteorite. The meteorite is naturally occurring, of course, and the dire wolf skull, like what I have in front of me. This is a model, and so that's a replica. Now, if you were at La Brea Tar Pits, you've got the real thing, so that would actually be the naturally occurring object. The type of material that you're going to use is visual materials. So that's the record. The type code in the 008 byte 6 is R. And you can see that there are all different kinds of things that actually fit into three-dimensional objects. So there are all sorts of human-made objects like models and dioramas and games and puzzles, just like the examples that I showed you before. Now, in this talk, because it's a short talk, I'm just going to hone in on model because that's what I have in front of me. And so the type of visual material is a cue. And we have a definition here of the model. It represents a real thing. The Smilodon skull is also a model, as is my direwolf skull. Now, one of the first things that you need to do when you're cataloging is figure out, where do I get the title from? And sometimes it's an easy matter, but especially with the three-dimensional objects, sometimes it's very hard to find it. And so if you cannot find the title on the, like a box that it came in or whatever, then you have to create a title. And if you create a title, please add the source of description note, which in the objects best practices, we decided on the 588 field, title devised by cataloger. So we're recommending that you use the 588 field. Now, the 264 field for production, publication, distribution, manufacture statement, and copyright notice date is a good example of precise data. And the indicator 2 shows the function of each of the entities. So if it's a 0 in indicator 2, it's production, 1 is publication, 2 distribution, 3 manufacture, and 4 is copyright date. Now, RDA says that you can put not identified in brackets, place of publication, not identified, etc. But LC and PCC libraries have strongly encouraged catalogers to supply the inferred elements. And while we're on the topic of publication, there was a flurry of emails back and forth to our advisors because, of course, publication is difficult when you're looking at three-dimensional objects, and especially naturally occurring objects. And Kelly McGrath is one of our objects task force advisors, and she wrote, publication remains a very print-centric concept, and RDA's definitions remain amorphous. And I think that's quite true. So sometimes it's very hard to find the information for publication statement. And sometimes it's not easily ascertainable. And so we clung to RDA 0.6.4, which says that if the concept of publication doesn't make sense for the item that you're cataloging, and if it's not readily available, then do not supply those elements in the record. With many of our 3D objects, there just simply is no publisher, and there's no sense in trying to push one of the other elements into the role of publisher. That's what we have the second indicator for now. So moving on to the 300 field is much more interesting, I think. There's a controlled list of terms that you can use, and if nothing really fits, then you can use your own terms. In the 300, we also talk about what it's made out of, like plastic, if it's color, and also the dimensions, so height by width by depth. The 336, 337, and 338 content type, which is three-dimensional form. 337 media type is unmediated, and 338 carrier type is object. That triple usually shows up in three-dimensional objects. So you'll see that very often with three-dimensional objects. And as is the case with the meteorite, so you can see the 336, 337, 338, and the geode, that's my geode sitting on my counter. And you can see that also in the 336, 337, 338, you see the same thing. And the 588 title devised by cataloger. And there's my Smilodon skull fossil model. And we have the title. We have the 588 title devised by cataloger. The 3XXs. The 340s are kind of interesting because they bring out what this is made out of and the coloring, and also the 380 field. The genre headings are coming out there too. And I always like to have a 520 that explains what this thing is. So here we have the dire wolf skull, and also a record for the dire wolf skull. And we did have a 264, the manufacturer, for that, for this dire wolf skull. And because of that, there was a pamphlet, and in the 588, the title comes from the pamphlet. One thing at the Page Museum at La Brea Tar Pits, I thought it was just kind of interesting to see the cataloging that was done for the real skulls. And of course this is a long, long time ago, but I thought you might get a kick out of that. So if you have any questions about any of this, please send me an email, and I hope that you too get to catalog some cool objects. So we'll see you later. Thank you.